Peace talks, that's what the world is focused on right now. Diplomacy, negotiations, the possibility finally of ending this war. But while diplomats talk, missiles fly. While Zelenskyy boards a plane to meet President Trump, Russian drones are striking Ukrainian cities. While the world hopes for peace, Kyiv burns. This is the brutal reality. Of this war, there is no pause button. There is no ceasefire while negotiations proceed. Russia attacks and keeps attacking even as it claims to want a resolution. According to Ukrainian officials, Russian forces launched another wave of strikes against Ukrainian infrastructure just as President Zelenskyy departed for crucial meetings. With the Trump administration, the timing, according to analysts, is not coincidental. It's a message. So what exactly is happening on the ground? What does Zelenskyy hope to achieve in Washington? And can peace really be possible when one side refuses to stop shooting? Let's break down everything we know based on verified reports, official statements, and the grim reality unfolding in Ukraine tonight. For weeks now, diplomatic momentum has been building. The Trump administration has made ending the Ukraine war a central foreign policy priority. Envoys have been dispatched, messages have been exchanged, and for the first time in months, there's been serious talk of potential negotiations. President Zelensky's trip to meet with Trump represents a critical moment in this process. According to reports, the meeting will focus on several key issues: American support for Ukraine going forward, the framework for potential peace negotiations, security guarantees that Ukraine would need before any agreement, the role the United States would play in ensuring compliance. These are consequential discussions that could shape the future of the conflict. But according to Ukrainian military officials, Russia has chosen this exact moment to intensify its attacks. Analysts who study Russian military behavior recognize this pattern: escalate violence during diplomatic windows, demonstrate strength while talking about peace, create pressure on the battlefield to improve negotiating position, send signals that military operations will continue regardless of talks. This is not new. Throughout this war, Russia has consistently attacked during periods of diplomatic engagement. According to observers, the message is clear: Russia negotiates from a position of force, not good faith. And tonight, as Zelenskyy travels to Washington, that message is being delivered with missiles. According to Ukrainian Air Force Command, Russia launched a significant aerial attack in the hours surrounding Zelenskyy's departure. The attack reportedly included cruise missiles launched from strategic bombers, Shad-type drones deployed in waves, ballistic missiles targeting critical infrastructure, Ukrainian air defenses engaged. The incoming weapons, according to official reports, a substantial number were intercepted. But according to the same officials, some got through. They struck energy infrastructure. They struck civilian areas. They struck targets that have been hit repeatedly throughout this war. These are the kinds of attacks Russia conducts when it wants to send a political message: we are still here, we are still capable, we will not pause for diplomacy. According to emergency services, rescue operations were initiated in affected areas. The full extent of damage and casualties was still being assessed as reports emerged. What makes this timing significant, according to analysts, is the deliberate contrast it creates. Zelenskyy boards a plane seeking peace. Putin orders missiles seeking destruction. The juxtaposition is not accidental. According to diplomatic observers, Russia is signaling to both Ukraine and the United States that military pressure will continue regardless of negotiations. This puts Zelenskyy in a difficult position. He arrives in Washington not from a position of strength, but under fire. And that, according to analysts, may be exactly what Moscow intended. Ukraine's response to the attacks was immediate and defiant. According to military officials, Ukrainian forces continued defensive operations without pause. Air defense units engaged incoming targets throughout the attack. Emergency services deployed to affected areas within minutes. Repair crews began work on damaged infrastructure immediately. This is the routine Ukraine has developed over 3 years of war: attack, defend, repair, repeat. But according to officials, the emotional toll of attacks during peace discussions is significant. Statement after statement from Ukrainian authorities described the strikes as proof that Russia is not serious about peace, evidence that military pressure is Russia's true negotiating strategy, a deliberate attempt to undermine diplomatic progress. According to presidential advisors, Zelenskyy was briefed on the attacks before his meetings in Washington. The information, according to sources, will be incorporated into his discussions with Trump, the message Zelenskyy will deliver. According to officials familiar with the preparations, Ukraine wants peace, but peace cannot be achieved while Russia continues attacking. Any agreement must include mechanisms to stop the violence, not just pause it. According to Ukrainian officials, the attacks actually strengthen their negotiating position in one respect: they demonstrate exactly why Ukraine needs security guarantees. They show why ceasefire without enforcement is meaningless. They prove that Russian promises alone cannot be trusted. This is the argument Ukraine will make in Washington. Peace requires more than words. It requires consequences for violations, and tonight's attacks, according to Kyiv, prove exactly that. According to military analysts, here is what we know about the operational picture. Russia maintains the capability to launch significant strike packages despite 3 years of war and substantial losses. Iranian-supplied Shahd drones continue to be used in large numbers, often to exhaust air defenses before cruise missiles arrive. Russian strategic aviation remains active, launching missiles from positions over Russian territory and the Caspian Sea. Ukraine's air defense network, while improved through Western assistance, cannot intercept everything. This creates the persistent vulnerability that Ukrainians live with every day. According to infrastructure officials, Ukraine's energy grid has been repeatedly targeted and repeatedly repaired. The resilience is remarkable, but according to engineers, the cumulative damage takes a toll. Each strike degrades capacity. Each repair uses limited resources. Each winter becomes harder than the last. According to humanitarian organizations operating in Ukraine, millions of civilians have experienced power outages due to infrastructure attacks. Hospitals have been forced to rely on generators. Water supplies have been disrupted in multiple cities. Heating systems have failed during freezing temperatures. This is the context in which Zelenskyy travels to Washington, not as a leader whose country is at peace, but as a wartime president whose capital was attacked hours before his departure. According to officials, this reality shapes every aspect of Ukraine's diplomatic approach. They are not negotiating from comfort. They are negotiating from crisis, and they need the world to understand the difference. And here's where the strategic picture becomes clearer. According to analysts who study Russian military doctrine, attacks during diplomatic windows serve multiple purposes. First, they demonstrate that Russia retains offensive capability and will to use it. Second, they create psychological pressure on Ukrainian leadership. Third, they test Western resolve by forcing allies to confront ongoing violence. Fourth, they establish that any future agreement will be negotiated under threat of resumed attacks. This is not irrational behavior. According to military strategists, it's calculated. Russia wants any peace agreement to be understood as a pause, not an end. They want Ukraine to know that attacks can resume at any moment. They want the West to understand that supporting Ukraine means accepting ongoing risk. According to this analysis, the attacks are not separate from diplomacy. They are part of diplomacy. They are Russia's way of negotiating. But according to Ukrainian officials, this strategy has limits. Every attack that kills civilians strengthens international support for Ukraine. Every strike on infrastructure increases calls for more air defense assistance. Every violation of basic humanity makes Russian claims of victimhood harder to sustain. According to observers, Russia's attacks may intimidate, but they also alienate, and in a conflict where international support matters enormously, alienation has costs. According to reports, President Zelensky's meeting with President Trump carries enormous significance. The agenda, according to officials familiar with the preparations, includes the future of American military assistance to Ukraine, the Trump administration's vision for ending the conflict, potential terms that might form the basis for negotiations, security arrangements that would follow any agreement. According to analysts, this meeting will shape the trajectory of the war. If Trump commits to sustained support, Ukraine's position strengthens. If Trump pushes for rapid negotiations with significant concessions, Ukraine faces difficult choices. If the meeting produces disagreement, both Ukraine and Russia will recalibrate. According to sources, Zelenskyy arrives with specific objectives: secure continued military assistance, particularly air defense systems; ensure Ukraine has a seat at the table in any peace discussions; prevent any agreement that rewards Russian aggression; maintain Western unity in support of Ukrainian sovereignty. These are significant asks. According to officials, the outcome is not predetermined. The Trump administration has signaled desire for a deal. Ukraine has signaled refusal to accept unfavorable terms. How these positions reconcile remains to be seen. This is not the first time diplomatic efforts have coincided with military escalation. According to documented records, during the 2022 Istanbul negotiations, Russia continued offensive operations. Throughout 2023, various diplomatic initiatives occurred alongside intensified fighting. In 2024, back channel discussions proceeded while missile attacks continued weekly. The pattern is consistent. Russia does not pause military operations for diplomacy. According to historians who study this conflict, this approach reflects Russian strategic culture. Negotiations are seen as another front in the war. Military pressure and diplomatic pressure work together. Agreements are reached when one side no longer has alternatives, not when both sides want peace. According to this perspective, Russia will continue attacking until it believes it cannot achieve more through fighting. That moment, according to analysts, has not yet arrived, and so the missiles continue to fly, even as peace plans loom. What makes this moment so consequential is the pressure facing all parties. According to reports, President Zelenskyy faces multiple challenges: a war-weary population that has endured 3 years of conflict, military pressure on multiple front lines, economic devastation requiring massive international support, political uncertainty about the durability of Western backing. According to analysts, Zelenskyy needs this Washington meeting to succeed. He needs reassurance that America will not abandon Ukraine. He needs weapons to defend against attacks like tonight's. He needs diplomatic support that doesn't require surrendering territory. Meanwhile, according to reports, President Trump faces his own calculations, campaign promises to end the war quickly, competing foreign policy priorities, domestic political considerations, the complexity of a conflict with no easy solutions. According to observers, Trump wants a deal, but the terms of that deal remain unclear. And according to Ukrainian officials, not all deals are acceptable. The tension between wanting peace and refusing bad peace defines this moment. According to official communications from relevant parties, the Ukrainian presidential office confirmed Zelenskyy's travel to Washington and described the meetings as critical for Ukraine's future. The White House confirmed the scheduled meeting and stated that all aspects of the conflict would be discussed, the Russian Foreign Ministry, according to state media, stated that peace depends on Ukraine accepting realities on the ground, language that implies territorial concessions. NATO leadership reiterated alliance support for Ukraine while encouraging diplomatic solutions. This is diplomatic language, but according to analysts, the underlying positions remain far apart. Russia wants recognition of its gains. Ukraine wants restoration of its territory. America wants an end to the conflict. Reconciling these positions, according to diplomats, remains the fundamental challenge, and tonight's attacks, according to observers, make that challenge even harder. According to recent statements, President Zelenskyy has been clear about his conditions. He has stated that Ukraine will not accept any agreement that legitimizes occupation. He has stated that security guarantees must be concrete, not merely promises. He has stated that the Ukrainian people will ultimately decide what terms are acceptable. And he has stated that Russia's continued attacks prove why strong agreements are necessary. These positions, according to officials, will guide his discussions in Washington. Zelenskyy is not arriving as a supplicant. He is arriving as a wartime leader whose country was bombed hours before his departure. According to advisors, that reality will be central to his message. Ukraine needs help. Ukraine deserves help, and Ukraine will not surrender for the sake of a quick deal. According to military officials, tonight's attack was not isolated. Russia has maintained a consistent tempo of strikes throughout recent weeks. According to Ukrainian Air Force data, dozens of aerial attacks have occurred this month alone. Multiple types of weapons have been employed. Targets have included both military and civilian infrastructure. Casualties have been reported across multiple incidents. This is the reality that forms the backdrop to all diplomatic discussions. According to analysts, Russia is not reducing pressure. If anything, according to military observers, attack frequency has increased during the period of diplomatic activity. This suggests, according to experts, that Russia views military pressure and diplomatic engagement as complementary, not contradictory. They will talk and fight simultaneously, and they expect Ukraine to negotiate under fire. According to analysts, several outcomes from the Washington meeting are possible. One is a strong reaffirmation of American support, with commitments to continued military assistance. Another is a push for negotiations with pressure on Ukraine to show flexibility. A third is disagreement that leaves the diplomatic situation uncertain. According to observers, the most likely outcome is somewhere in between: some reassurance, some pressure, some ambiguity. According to officials, Ukraine is prepared for all scenarios. They want maximum support, they will resist maximum pressure, and they will navigate ambiguity as they have throughout this war. The meeting will not resolve everything, but according to analysts, it will signal direction, and direction matters when a nation is fighting for survival. What we're witnessing is a test of multiple propositions. Can diplomacy proceed while attacks continue? Can Ukraine maintain support while resisting pressure? Can America broker peace without imposing terms? Can Russia be brought to genuine negotiation? The answers are not yet clear, but according to observers, this moment will provide evidence. How Trump receives Zelenskyy matters. How Ukraine responds to pressure matters. How Russia interprets the signals matters. And how the world reacts to continued attacks matters. According to the latest reports, President Zelenskyy has arrived in Washington for scheduled meetings. Russian attacks on Ukraine have been confirmed, with damage assessment ongoing. Emergency services continue operations in affected areas. International reaction to the attacks has included condemnation from multiple governments. According to officials, Zelenskyy's schedule includes meetings at the White House and potentially with other administration officials. The outcomes of these meetings, according to sources, will be communicated following their conclusion. According to Ukrainian officials, the juxtaposition of attacks and diplomacy will be central to their message. Peace cannot mean accepting bombardment. Negotiations cannot mean ignoring aggression, and any agreement must address the fundamental violence that continues every day. As Zelenskyy meets with Trump, the war continues. That is the inescapable reality of this moment. Diplomacy and destruction happening simultaneously. Hope and horror existing side by side. What happens in Washington matters enormously. The decisions made will affect millions of lives. But according to officials, decisions alone won't stop. The missiles, only enforcement will, only real security will, only genuine commitment will. Ukraine has shown it will fight. The question now is whether the world will help it achieve peace, real peace, not surrender. And tonight, the contrast could not be starker. In Washington, leaders discuss peace. In Ukraine, cities burn. In diplomatic rooms, words are exchanged. In Ukrainian hospitals, wounded are treated. This is the war into 2025. Peace plans loom. Attacks continue, and millions wait to see which prevails. Will this meeting change anything? Will the attacks stop? Will peace finally come? We don't know yet, but we know this. Zelenskyy is fighting on two fronts now, the battlefield and the negotiating table, and Ukraine cannot afford to lose either. This story is far from over, and we will be here, covering every development as war and diplomacy collide.